literally just dumb. I just adored him with my whole heart. So who doesn't want to live in their favorite world for like a day? Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Every month, the first video that I post is never different. So we are doing a July reading wrap up. Unfortunately, I don't have very many books to talk to you about today, but on the bright side, that means that we can talk about each book for a little bit longer without this video being abnormally long. I did end up reading 5 books in the month of July, which is not my greatest work, but I was in a huge book slump at the beginning of the month. I also went on a vacation at the beginning of the month, so I feel like 5 is pretty good with all things considered. I do normally like to read a lot more in the summer, and the summer has just been a little bit different for me. I feel like I've been really busy, but I've been trying, and honestly this is a very quality reading month for me, which I feel like beats however many books you read in a month anyways. It really does not matter how many books you read in a month. Reading a book in a year is better than reading no books at all. So with that in mind, we're gonna go ahead and do our little wrap up. I'm gonna give you guys my thoughts and feelings on these books, and they're all gonna be spoiler free. So starting off the month, I finished The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. This is actually my book slump video, so if you want to see me read this in real time, I'll go ahead and link that up here for you. But I really enjoyed this book. This is my first Rachel Gillig book, and I'm so sad that it's like taking me this long to get to her writing, because her writing is amazing. In this book, we're following a group of girls who are diviners, and the diviners divine in a cathedral for a bunch of different people to come. So it could be like kings or just regular like townsfolk. They come to kind of get their almonds read by the diviners. So the diviners basically drown themselves in this like magical water, and what it does is when they're drowning, instead of dying, they're dreaming. So the diviners dream of the omens, and there's I think 5 different omens? 6 different omens that each have a specific token, and based off of what they dream and how that dream comes to them, that token can either be something bad, like a bad omen, or a good omen for the person they're divining for. And then this one king comes and everything starts to change. I guess I should say that Sybil is our main character, our main diviner. After the king comes and visits and she divines for him, all of her other sister diviners start disappearing one by one. So she teams up to find out like what is happening to her sisters, with the king and the knighthood that came when she noticed like the pattern happening. I'm so sorry if that was like a terrible description of this book. I feel like that is as vague as I can be without going into spoilers for you guys. It's also just a crazy freaking magic system, which I have heard about all of her books so far. So just know that this is a completely different magic system that you've probably ever read before. Maybe not, I don't know. I'm not like the biggest fantasy reader. I love fantasy, but it's not like my #1. So this might not be different to you, but for me, it was very different. I ended up giving this book 4.5 stars. It did take me a while to get through, which is not the book's fault at all, but it did kind of knock my rating down. Something about this book, it was just so fun. It's so magical, it's so whimsical. Like I said, this was like no other fantasy book I've ever read, and there were times where I was kind of struggling to follow along, which is kind of why I think I knocked it down a peg, which is not the book's fault at all. I'm literally just dumb. That is probably why I didn't give it a 5 stars, but I'm very excited for the rest of the series of this like world. I think the rest of the books in this series are gonna be even higher rated for me, because this was a very setting up book. Oh, and the gargoyle is like this like little side character in here. He's just so funny. Like, I can't say much, but he is just so funny, and I think he's like the perfect little what are those characters called when they're like, he's definitely the perfect like comedic relief in this book, and I just adored him with my whole heart. So, and then in the same video, I reread a book that I read a couple of years ago, and that is Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. If you haven't heard about this book, it is all over Book Talk. It is a very old book, not old Book Talk book, but it's been on Book Talk for a very long time. In this book, we're following Macy, who loses her mother and is being raised by her father, and her mother leaves behind a list of things of how to take care of Macy as, you know, a growing woman. And one of the things on the list was to keep her, like when she's like down and there's like a lot of stuff going on, like take her away to anywhere, somewhere where she can just kind of like recharge. And so her dad ends up buying a kind of like a vacation home, and at that vacation home she meets her neighbor, who is Elliot, who is our male main character. And when they meet, they're obviously a lot younger. They bond over their love for reading, and like they literally read so much. But in this book we're kind of getting present and past timelines of Macy. She is actually currently engaged to someone else. She runs into Elliot again after not speaking to him for for a long time, after something happened between the two. And we're just kind of navigating her finding her first love again, and what that means in terms of her life now and her fiance now. This is one of my favorite books ever. It still stood the test of time for me. I gave it 5 stars, of course. This is probably not going to count towards like my 5 stars of the year, just because going into this, I had already rated it a 5 stars years ago, and I knew that it was probably going to still be a 5 star for me. There's just something so special about this book to me. I think I'm just a sucker for childhood friends to lovers. I love a second chance. Elliot in this book is like the most top tier book boyfriend ever. He's a little bit out of reach, I guess, if that makes sense. Like there's no way a 13-year-old boy would be saying the things that he was saying to Macy in this book when they were a lot younger, but he's so sweet, and they bond over so many different things. Definitely, if you haven't seen this one everywhere and you haven't read it yet, I really, really recommend it. It's one of my favorite books ever, and it still is. And then I read A Novel Love Story by Ashley Poston. The premise of this book is so cool. So in this book, we're following Aileen, who is doing a yearly getaway to kind of like a secluded retreat. This time she's going by herself because her best friend is on like a vacation with her new fiance. So she ends up going by herself, and she gets caught in like a rainstorm, and she almost runs over this guy. And so obviously she gets out to see what's happening. They are kind of like beefing, I guess, right off the bat, because she's like, why are you standing in the rain? Like I couldn't see you. And he's like, why are you driving in the rain? Like stuff like that. And so she finds herself in this small town. She kind of takes a gander to the like local bar, I guess. Come to find out that she starts kind of recognizing these places and these characters as her favorite characters in her favorite author's like world series. She almost ran into this guy. She realizes that she has ended up in her favorite book's like world, and she can't leave because her car is broken down. She can't take pictures of anything because this is a fake place. She can't text anyone because there's no cell service. And she meets obviously the guy that she almost ran over, and she obviously knows that this guy is not a part of these characters. Another little side plot is that the author of her like favorite books has died and left the series unfinished. So she's wondering like, where does this guy come from? Like, was he supposed to be in the last book? All these things. I feel like I'm struggling so hard to kind of wrap this up and tell you guys what this book is about, because I disliked it. I did not like it. I did listen to it as well. I ended up giving it a 3-star rating on Goodreads, but honestly I'd probably give it like a 2.75, which is being really generous. I think I liked it in the sense that the premise is really cool. Like, who doesn't want to live in their favorite like book's world for like a day? But something about this just did not click for me. I don't know if it is like the magical realism. I did not care for the characters in this at all. I feel like their romance was very rushed. Like I said, I listened to this, and so Aileen, I guess, is Southern, and so the audiobook narrator was having a Southern accent for the whole book, and I absolutely hate that. I just cannot stand it. I don't know, I just feel like there could have been, I don't know. Next, I read Book Lovers by Emily Henry, which finishes my entire like adult romances of Emily Henry's. I know she has a few on her backlist that aren't as popular, obviously, but this is my last Emily Henry book. In this book, we're following Nora, who is a kind of like a workaholic. She works really hard for the things that she has because when she was a child, she was living in New York. Her sister and her mom were kind of broke, but she kind of wanted to turn her life around for herself. Nora is a literary agent, and she is an agent for Dusty, who at first, when we first meet Nora, is kind of a new and emerging author. She meets with Charlie, our mailman character, at the beginning of the book to try and sell him, because he's an editor, Dusty's book, and he does not like it. So he basically turns her down. So we shoot forward a couple of years and Dusty's books have completely blown up. She is doing really well. She's currently writing her next book, and she has this one book that is set in Sunshine Falls. Nora's sister Libby is pregnant, and she decides that she wants to take Nora on a trip to Sunshine Falls. She's like, you need to take a break. You're obviously like stressed to the max. You basically sleep, eat, do work, repeat. And so she takes her to Sunshine Falls to try and get her out of this crazy manic work episode. And when she's at Sunshine Falls, she runs into no other than her workplace enemy, Charlie Lastra. She is still mad that he turned away her book, and now she's like, haha, like Dusty's doing great. Why are you here in Sunshine Falls? I really, really love this book. I would say this is probably one of my new favorite Emily Henry books. I did give it 5 stars. Something about Charlie Lastra in this book, something about the small town romance being right for me. I don't typically love a small town romance, but Emily Henry did a really good job of kind of blending it and making it a lot more like, I don't know, like realistic, I guess. I loved the like sisterhood themes of this. There was just a lot to unravel here. She obviously is the queen of blending kind of like women's fiction with romance, and this one is no different. I really, really loved Nora in this. I think there's something to be said about a strong-willed workaholic female character. I feel like a lot of times they can get a bad rap, and so I loved that for Nora. She's also a tall girl, which is always fun to see representation of that because I'm 5'9", so I really loved this book. There was something so special about it. When I picked it up, I could not put it down, which is really great in terms of being in a book slump before I read this. And yeah, I would just say it was probably my new second favorite of Emily Henry's. I'm not 100% sure yet. I am gonna do an Emily Henry ranking, so stay tuned for that video, whether it's a short or a TikTok or whatever. And then last but not least, because I was feeling a little bit sad about the amount of books I've read, which I know I preach that it doesn't matter how many books you read in a month, but for me, that rule does not apply. So I did read one more book. It is a novella, part of the Valentine's Day collection on Amazon. I've read most of them by now, but this one is With Any Luck by Ashley Poston. So like I said, these are all novellas that are set on Valentine's Day in some way or another. In this book, we follow Audrey, who is going to be the best man in her friend's wedding. She is friends with a guy, so she's the best man. And Audrey is known for having this curse where if you kiss her, you will find your soulmate right after. So she goes to this wedding. She is kind of like rivals, I guess, with the maid of honor, who is a guy because he is best friends with the girl in the wedding. I don't know if that makes sense. Like basically they just swap them, and they're kind of like enemies, but they have to team up together when Audrey's best friend, the groom, goes missing the day of his wedding. This was okay. I gave it 3 stars. It's a fun little read. Obviously, like I said, it's a novella. It's gonna take you less than an hour to get through. If you're trying to meet some goals or whatever, go ahead and do it. But I thought that, you know, I could keep up with my little Ashley Poston train and see if it's just me or her writing. And this one was actually good. This one didn't have any magical realism in it, which I feel like maybe is why I liked it a little bit more. And with that, that was the 5 books that I read in July. Although I didn't read a lot, I will say, if you watch my last month's wrap up, I did a TBR at the end of it, and I stuck to my TBR pretty well. I don't think I got to all of them, but 3 out of the 5 books that I read this month were on my TBR that I made for myself last month, which I have never done. I do not follow a TBR. It's really hard to get me to follow a TBR. Anyways, let me know down below what books that you read in the month of July. Which were your favorites? I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, leave it a like, subscribe so you don't miss any more videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!